birthday, dude.
You douchebag. What a delicious douchebag you are.
Yeah, I know. You're old AF.
I'm there.
Yeah.
I have finally arrived.
The 4-0, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel pretty good because there's a lovely blue belt that joined our gym recently, college wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Told him my age, and he's like, damn, you move like you're my age. And I said, I'm going to kiss you on the lips. You think you're walking out of here without getting a kiss on the lips? You got something wrong, buddy.
You know, so
he hasn't come back yet.
I was going to say, is this day class?
It is a day class.
You know, day class has that reputation.
What, lip kissing?
Apparently. They're like, yeah, man, I'm glad I'm at night class now.
Yeah.
Bill's
a little handsy.
A little handsy.
A little handsy when you're
and not in a jiu-jitsu way either.
No, but it's also why Drew still shows up, and
that's fine.
He loves being my uke.
We're very inclusive at our academy.
We are, especially with Koreans.
Dude, you're so in trouble, dude. Here we go.
No swearing today. No swearing.
No swearing, but racism is sweet.
I said I love Koreans, not like you.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, I can at least put my love for Koreans out there. You tend to hide it.
Some of my favorite people have that heritage.
Don't try backtracking now.
Yeah. This did not work out well for you.
For me.
So
you're the one that's on the FBI list now.
Yeah. I've been on the no-fly list for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So just look at me. So before we go further, I know we have some questions today.
Mm-hmm.
Remember I ranted about, what did I rant about?
Well, I mean,
I know, it's a long list, but the most recent one was the hand wipes. Right?
Yes, you were upset at that hand wipes are now considered an ATF violation, basically.
Washington State, I can't buy them from Amazon and get my defense wipes because they don't say do not flush.
The antibacterial ones, right, or whatever they are.
My mother got me some black market defense wipes.
Really?
Yes. She got the big tub, the 400 count, and she sent it to me.
Damn.
And to make sure I didn't run afoul with the state, I'll show you.
Please. You have it on you.
So here it is.
Wow.
And Olivia, can you?
That's a bucket of defense wipes.
Do you want me to on you or?
Or no, on the thing here. Because what she did on there, she put very snarkily, warning, do not flush.
Yeah, she did. She put that on there? That wasn't already there?
No, she put that on there.
That's impressive, Miss Hardy.
Just to make sure that, the state didn't come knocking at my door looking for my illicit defense wipes.
You're going to have the cleanest beehole in the state.
I've always had that reputation.
I know it.
But now we're going to be in the parking lot. I'm going to be handing out my black market defense wipes for a very nominal fee.
Yeah.
I don't think those are supposed to be used on your butt.
That's a great point.
I feel like that might
I have not done
sting.
that. Yeah.
Can you confirm or deny this?
I haven't used them on the actual mucous membrane.
Will you let me know how your mucous membrane takes those?
No, because I'll give you some samples and you may try them, sir.
Don't do it, Bill.
I feel like it's going to sting.
Yeah. I was going to get for your birthday. I was going to, speaking of that, I was going to give you some Preparation H. Because I know that, some people like to put it under their eyelids. And have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Olivia?
What?
For your wrinkles?
Really?
Yeah. But my concern with you would be your whole head would shrink.
If I put Preparation H on it?
Yeah, because it shrinks hemorrhoids. So.
Look at you.
I know.
Look at you.
I'll be here for the next hour.
Would you Google to get that joke?
That is one of my old man jokes.
Oh, no.
It's a dad joke.
You had to look it up.
Dude, I got skills, brother. You just don't know. All right. Enough of that. What do we got before I get myself into more trouble?
Yeah. With your stupid hemorrhoids.
Hey, do you need my glasses? You are 40 now.
He's going to need readers soon.
Get some readers?
No.
Okay.
Stop it. So we actually had someone ask. They asked if we have merch.
I know. And I said.
I don't know.
I replied.
What'd you say?
I said we have some prototypes in the works.
Yes. We just started playing around with a company to test some to see how the quality is. So not yet, but in time.
I love the rash guard though, dude.
Yeah. We might have some rash guards and then maybe T-shirts or something like that.
Yeah.
But the first thing we're testing is rash guards.
How about some butt wipes with "Do not flush" on there, just for washing.
I'll let you know how they feel.
Okay, sounds
put your
good.
face on it.
I will put my face on it. And then we had another question, and this was on one of the stabilization band workout videos.
Oh, okay.
Specifically the pushing
Yeah,
one.
and I think I answered that too.
Oh, okay. Well, the question was, so you can go to our YouTube page. You can see Chris demonstrated a workout with the bands that we did.
Or an exercise.
Yeah, an exercise on, I think, 2 episodes ago. And we were referencing the Anchor Point
The bands.
band system.
Yep.
And so we did a video, and he just kind of displays a couple. So someone asked, would this work with a cable machine as well? They'd like to do this instead of a bench press, but they don't have the setup or maybe the space or something for the industrial size bands.
What I want you to do is click on Chris's response and you read it.
Oh my gosh, you're going to make me do this?
It's under my Strength Health Alliance.
We're in
Log
a
in.
bunker right now.
I know.
So it's going to be nice.
Oh, you
and
don't
slow.
have it readily available.
No, I'm looking at my
All right.
email that came in.
So, no, that's okay.
But that was the main question.
So you could, but the difference is there is a difference with, first of all, changing the weight on the fly. In other words, if I start to burn, get so where I can't complete the reps I want, maybe I put a little too much on there. With the bands, all you have to do is scoot back a little bit towards the anchor. So in other words, you could be in mid rep and almost change the weight. So that's a big advantage. Either way, you could make it heavier or lighter without having to go back onto the rack. Okay. Secondly, there's a different length force curve.
okay.
In other words, let's think about a press. So as I press, if I have just a cable system put up, right, and I have the same weight, as I press, I'm still pressing the same amount the entire time. And then with my mechanical advantage at lockout, in other words, as my elbows start to straighten, things usually become easier because of mechanical advantage with the pushing, right? But now with the bands, as you push out to end range, it gets harder, right? So that force curve goes up. So it's a different type of thing. But sure, you could, and you could get a lot out of it with a cable, but just know, and there's also probably some safety issues too.
With a cable?
There could be. If you're in there and all of a sudden it gets squirrely on you, and
all that free weight dropping.
you fall, as opposed to letting go of a band that's not as bad.
Comparison, let's say the cable to just bench press. Better?
Yep.
Okay.
Because you're still stabilizing with using the type of techniques we were showing.
So he could do
this.
Even the kind of workout that you were showing,
Yep.
like probably single arm, I would think he would do one at a time.
Yeah, you could do both too if you had. Depends on what kind of
Cable machine you
had. If you could even set it up, but typically probably a single arm thing.
Yeah, I was just thinking how most like at home kind of workout machines are. They have a single stack, and then they don't. I mean, some people have those big ones where you got the both cables, but
the beauty of the band is you could all you need to do is rig up some type of place that you can anchor. Like in my garage, I threw up a stringer across two, beams, and then put my anchor there and clipped it in, and so it takes up zero space.
Yeah,
when you're not using it,
Yeah,
if you have just a little bit of a runway, so to speak, to do the exercise.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Other than that, we had some questions regarding TRT.
Right. We teased these last time.
Yes.
I did consult the expert, my wife, the other Dr. Carrie.
Not you.
Not me. Dr. Carrie Hardy. And I ran that question. So let's it's a lengthy question, but it's a really good one.
Should I start with Billy Bob?
Yep.
He's the one that we had read his question previously. And then he gave us some more information. Oddly, 2 different people, both from Louisiana, which is kind of odd.
Well, it's interesting since I'm from there.
Yeah. It's like you guys got a group rate or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually took notes on what Carrie told me to do, so I have them right here.
So I can start with Billy Bob's first.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm just going to read the question. Apologize, I have a 3rd grade public school reading level. But he says, thanks for answering my questions. Y'all went really in depth, and I wasn't expecting that. I live in Louisiana, Matari. Is that right? Matari? Yeah. Matari?
I don't. It's probably
you're not even from there,
dude. I haven't lived there in.
He's in the greater New Orleans.
40 years. Okay.
New Orleans area.
Gotcha.
Some of the symptoms I feel have, because we asked what some of his symptoms were specifically. Yeah. I feel I suffer from low energy. That's the big one for him. He does work 2 jobs and has 2 kids. My second job is a home inspector. I think his first job was it a fireman?
I believe that's what.
I think he was on shift work.
Right.
His second job is a home inspector, which allows him to have a lot of flexibility in his schedule. So he sees me outside. So he's in the heat and hot attics and stuff like that. He feels guilty when he gets home from training because he trains in a day class. And then he works from his second job and his son wants to play catch or something like that. And he just lacks the energy or even the motivation to go out there. And I can totally understand that because when I wasn't on TRT and stuff like that, stuff that you want to do seems like insurmountable effort to do. So I can totally understand that. He also gets a lot of brain fog and lack of concentration, obviously the weight loss stuff. And lastly, he struggles with like sex drive, libido, and performance. This was the indication that got him starting to look at TRT because libido was low and stuff like that. Which once again, that's a huge indicator that a lot of times us men will just beat ourselves up.
Yeah.
And it's something that we just do not talk about. You think like you're in your 30s or something like that. And I don't remember how old he is, but
yeah, I think he's 36 or something like that.
Yeah, you're in your 30s. You're not even thinking that like you're supposed to be like still an 18-year-old. Every movie and TV show out there makes every dude at any age seem like he's just chomping at the bit to get after it.
Yeah,
give me some booty.
You're exactly right, though.
But it's like, so because of that stereotype's out there, we feel like if we even mention our libido's low, and that doesn't mean erectile dysfunction, you can't get it up.
Drive.
It just means your sex drive.
Yeah.
And you're going to just keep that in. And
well,
you're gonna, like if you're like me and you, like, I don't know if you ever had to deal with that, but I know our inner voice is not a nice person.
No.
So we beat the shit out of ourselves.
Well, and it's even worse. It can cause problems in marriages because then their spouse might think, "Oh, what's wrong with me?" type of thing,
100%.
right? When there's nothing, wrong, right? So
totally,
that's a really good point.
Then you end up having marriage issues that don't even have to be there, and you're confused as why you don't want to talk to anybody about it. I've been there.
Yeah,
it's something that. And like I said, I have that inner voice that is more like you're just a wuss and like you know, you're stupid. So I'll continue with his question. About a year ago, I was promoted to captain at the fire department, which had me go from the busy house district to the slowest. Sleep is now much more consistent now, but never feels like, man, I got great sleep.
Yeah.
I definitely sleep more at night now than in the past 9 years in the busy district. So I'm definitely going to try the food timing. So that's our nutrient timing that we're telling about. Our classes are usually around an hour and a half, and I try to train during the day for family reasons, which we've talked about is probably best for all of us anyways.
Probably, yeah.
But if I'm eating right, trying to get those carbs in shouldn't be difficult. I've been trying to follow something more like an animal diet, as eating fruits is pretty easy to do while on the road, and it's much quicker to grab on the go. I look forward to your response. I hope that you guys can help refer a doctor, but I'll be looking up some functional doctors today. Thank you.
Was the other one very similar and long too, right?
It was long as well.
Yeah. Okay. So the other one actually that we'll get to in a second had some very specific things.
Yeah, he has some
carry.
Yes.
Okay. So his biggest question right now, if we can summarize, what's he want?
I think he's wondering if like TRT is probably.
So yeah. So are you the biggest thing is, are you still trying to have more children? Okay. And we're going to get to that in the second question too. If you are, it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
It can definitely affect fertility. Now,
Typically does.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. So, but if you're kind of done in that phase of your life, that's a different thing. It sounds like he does have kind of classic low testosterone things. And remember, it's not just the readings, you know, whatever your level, your blood level is, because what's actually really interesting is there's been some recent talk from some urologists talking about not only your levels, but even the receptor resistance. So like you can have insulin resistance, you can have actually androgen, which testosterone is an androgenic hormone. You can have androgen receptor resistance.
Yeah.
Where you could have testosterone trying to hit the receptor and it's just not doing what it's supposed to do. So it's just another reason why you have to find a doctor that actually treats your symptoms honestly with this specifically.
Right.
Like, how are you feeling? I don't care what your level is right now. How are you feeling?
Yeah, and that's a huge point because we have a mutual friend that we know that trains a lot that, if I remember, he was in like the 500s.
Yep.
But he doesn't have any of these symptoms.
Yep.
He actually feels great. He's a little concerned that he can't put on muscle. But, you know, that's probably something else. But all these other markers are just not there. I have a family member that is 44, I think, maybe 45.
Hold on.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And he's around 600, right? And naturally, and both these are natural, they're non-TRT users. They feel fine. When I'm in the 500s, I'm struggle city.
I feel terrible.
I do not feel good.
Yep.
I find when I'm in that kind of 800 to 900, but if I start to get into that high nines, I actually start going the opposite. Not the same way, but I don't feel good. I don't like how it feels.
You and I are wired exactly the same. I'm like between 800 and 900 is a sweet spot for me.
Right.
For whatever's happening internally. That correlates with me feeling good. Whatever that means. You know, we still don't have all that stuff figured out as far as.
But that one number is not, and that's where, like, before I started using Carrie as my physician and getting administered TRT and stuff like that through her, I went to the big clinics, UW Medicine, Polyclinic, like Swedish. Like I've gone to all of these urologists and stuff like that, and endocrinologists, and they never asked how I was feeling. It was always, well, here's your number, and
it's ridiculous.
This is your dosage. I'll see you in 3 months.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, and then in 3 months, they look at the number again.
Yeah,
they don't ask how you're feeling.
Nope.
And there you go.
Not to get into your personal medical stuff, but what kind of questions did you get from Carrie?
Oh,
if you don't mind sharing.
It was basically all of these.
Asking you.
Like, first and foremost, and this is kind of a good indicator of a good doctor. I mean, really, I shouldn't say integrative or functional or natural. Doctor. That first question often should be, how's your sleep?
Yep.
I mean, that's what we're noticing is like when you have all these good physicians, whether they're very popular people, or like a Tia, let's say Dr. A Tia or a Carrie or whatever. Well, how's your sleep is a leading indicator of health. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So that was first. And then, one of my big things was libido. So the libido's in there.
But she asked you that specific question, not so you could sit there and should I volunteer that or not?
Yes. No, she went through essentially a checklist of probably 10 things that I had to respond to with like, do you work out hard? Do you work out at all? Yes, I do. Are you able to burn? Like, do you drop weight? Like, and she even questioned how hard am I actually working out, right? Because that's just like with our own nutrition, we can be a little we think we eat better than we do a lot of the time.
Oh, for sure.
That's why food journals, which she had me do.
Yeah.
Food journals are big because then she went into the nutritional thing.
Yeah.
How much are you eating fast food? How much are you eating processed food? Like, just even down to the granular stuff to just get a whole true outlook of why my number is so low. Now it's, a little easier in my case, I guess, because my natural levels are darn near non-existent.
Yeah.
So it's kind of obvious, I guess. But she was asking that before she even took my blood.
That's right.
Right. And then you can start piecing these things together.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, that's super important to be able, and we're going to talk about after the second guy. This will apply to both of them.
Okay.
But we'll talk about, how to find someone.
Yeah.
Because she actually had some ideas.
Yeah. And some of these things that we're talking about, these are things to ask yourself. Right. The sleep thing, how he said, I don't wake up and ever feel like
I feel good.
Rejuvenated.
Totally.
Like, super common, a good indicator.
Well, and that's why having a doctor like Carrie to go see, because then she'd start screening you for like sleep apnea, all kinds of things that could be interrupting your sleep, not just the hormone stuff.
Yeah. And really also you're not going to hit every single one of these too.
Nope.
Like I would say a lot of people wouldn't think I had low testosterone just because of at certain times how I looked physically. Now I wasn't in as good a shape as I am now, but
yeah, that's a humble brag.
Is it
pretty amazing now?
I didn't say that. I'm in better shape than you, but I mean,
if
what the hell?
If round is a shape, which it is, you're
a
right.
pear.
You beat me.
You're
I'm
a
not
pear. You're a pear.
I'm an inverted pear, son.
You do have a big bosom.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But what was I saying?
No, you were talking about, but people wouldn't have thought.
Oh yeah, because I did work out so much in jiu-jitsu. Because I started jiu-jitsu before I was on TRT and then I was off. Like I've gone on and off a few different times in my life. And when I started, I was off, right? And I was burning fat, but I was training twice a day, probably 7 to 10 sessions a week.
Yeah.
So I was able to outwork my system, I guess you could say. But that doesn't mean I don't have it, right? Because I might be like, well, if she asked me, are you able to lose weight? I'd say yes. Now there was a wall though, because once I finally got on TRT, it was game changing. Like my fat loss was way better, my recovery. So that was a big thing. Also, if I did work out or I did jiu-jitsu, the rest of the day, don't expect a thing from me. I am done. The next day, I would have to like talk to my inner B and like force myself to go, which I could do, but once I was able to get the medication, that conversation is much easier, or I don't even have to have it, or
that's right.
When I do, it's much rarer.
Yeah.
So you're not going to necessarily hit every single marker.
Well, for him, getting some blood work is still important.
Yeah.
Right. Find someone that will do it, but finding someone that will actually look under the hood a little bit and ask the right questions and not just treat a lab value. Yeah. That's the problem. We're being treated as lab values and not people anymore. And that we could go into why the time crunch, algorithmic, medicine anymore. Like we're just following it's like, it's bad. It's like we're going through, like a factory. We're just freaking just shuttling patients through, right?
And Carrie's exceptional with the rubber glove. Very gentle.
Good. I know that's important to you.
I know she is.
We're not going to go there, dude.
Oh, okay. How about I read the second question?
Yeah.
And then you can start not diagnosing, but at least talking about some things with both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So this is the second question that came in. Another fellow from Louisiana. Says
it's Louisiana.
I'm sorry, what?
It's not Louisiana. Anybody from there, it's Louisiana. Just so you know.
You haven't been there in like 30 years.
Dude, it doesn't leave you. Some things don't leave you.
So he says he loves the podcast, except for Chris. I caught the tail end of your recent episode, as well as the episode all about TRT. So he has gone back and listened to that one. I also heard that Dr. Chris is from
Louisiana.
Is there no Louis? There's no Z. It says Louisiana.
It's just Louisiana.
It's like molasses just falling out your mouth.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Okay. There's been a murder
No, that's actually South Carolina.
in Savannah, Georgia.
No, the
It's a-
knives out.
No, it's
Accent.
an office quote. You big
Okay, I'm just
butthole.
telling you. You get your accents
Bill
right.
has to redeem himself from last week when he
Oh, he didn't do the
didn't know
office quote.
protuberance.
Yeah,
Shut it.
that's a real problem.
Okay. Our healthcare laws are very different from the Pacific Northwest, which you had mentioned. I'm hoping for some recommendations on who to see in the New Orleans area, which I'm sure you have a very unfortunate answer about that. I'm currently going through the mainstream healthcare system on hormones. After Hurricane Ida, I was exhausted. So last year, during my yearly exam, I asked my PCP to, what's a PCP?
Primary care physician.
Okay. To run a testosterone exam to see where the number was. She pressed back, stating I was too young. He's 36, and he's a male. But I convinced her otherwise. It came back at 311 NGDL.
Yeah, nanograms per deciliter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's just your like total test, right? Okay. So he's at 311. Pretty low.
Yeah.
36 years old. Fast forward to today, my wife and I are trying for a child. Her numbers have come back normal, and I am in the process of having my fertility checked. I explained to the urologist that I'm still exhausted, and my initial testosterone number was low. He explained that the exhaustion has nothing to do with the low testosterone number. Okay. I was shocked and taken aback by the comment. And then he played our podcast for him. No, I'm joking. He said he was shocked and taken back by the comment. My recent testosterone came back at 335, so a second test.
Yeah. Consistent.
Yep.
By the way, give me the name of your doctor. I'll fly down there and choke him out. What
Choke
an
his
idiot.
pleated pants.
What an idiot.
Stupid leather shoes. He says, I do wake up at 4 a.m. When I explained my exhaustion to his response was, don't wake up at 4 a.m. I try to prioritize sleep and manage 7 hours a night.
Dude, I want to mess this doctor up more and more every time I hear
He's
it.
the reason why we do this podcast.
Oh, my God.
It gets 8 on the weekends, 8 hours of sleep on the weekends. I did begin to forego the morning walk at 4:30 and sleep until 5 without anything changing the past 2 weeks. I am still exhausted every day. I'm going to see what the urologist says in the follow-up, but from the initial appointment, I doubt they will be of much help. My wife has been very encouraging in raising my testosterone naturally with a meat-based diet, removing seed oils, water filtration, organic or homegrown vegetables, non-toxic cleaning products. We use all clad pots and pans.
Yeah, so you're not leaching out anything.
Okay.
Right.
For cooking, so we're good there. We eat pasture-raised beef, pork, chicken 95% of the time.
Nice.
Anyways, any help for a guy trying to have children in New Orleans would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you can point him in the right direction,
I
that'd be
sure
great.
can.
And he found us on Greg's podcast. So.
Yeah.
So
Well, so this is the deal. So first of all, unfortunately, you're in Louisiana, and I don't mean that for the medical system. My experience dealing with many, and I'm sure there's some good ones there, but is the state is backwards in general. Okay, and I'll tell you why I think that. So I'm an osteopathic physician, a DO. We have fully licensed physicians. We have been for, the 30s, right? Same training as MDs, the whole 9 yards, right? It's all documented. Louisiana was the last state in the country to allow DOs. They waited until 1972. There's this good old boy network down there. There's a lot of physicians down there tend to be on the arrogant side and dismissive of patients. This is just my personal opinion.
sure.
Because I have family members still living down there. I'm sure there's some good docs down there. But in general, the state is fairly backwards. Now, his case is interesting so he's trying to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You do not want to go on TRT. Okay. That will absolutely mess your fertility up.
Mm-hmm.
It just will. The TRT thing should be when, you're kind of done with that aspect of your life, or right now we're not considering it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there is a way to get off of it. It's, typically when you start it, you're replacing what you lost.
Yeah.
You're typically going to be on it.
And there is, because I'm sure there might be someone listening. It's like, well, I heard that you can do this while you're on TRT. Not saying that there's nothing you can't do a single thing, but
your chances, it doesn't matter.
The most part you're
messing the fertility thing will be a big issue.
Yes.
And if you really are trying to. So what I actually had Carrie look at this question. Mm-hmm. Here's what she recommends. So start Tongat Ali.
Yeah.
200 to 400 milligrams. And this, by the way, this is not medical advice, even though it sounds like it. This is just informational purposes. Okay, we're not telling someone to do something. But
this is what I would do as a non-physician.
This is what she would do with one of her patients with a similar background.
And Tongat Ali, that's Tangkat.
I thought it was Tongkat.
Do you know that?
I think it is TON.
TON?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 200 to 400 milligrams daily. And you can start with 200. This is what she would do with a patient like this.
Yeah.
DHEA, 50 milligrams daily. She said he needs a more complete workup. She would look at it, the sleep, especially fatigue. She would look at sleep apnea issues. She would look at anything else, thyroid function, the full endocrine
Even
workup.
if you're not obese.
Totally.
That typically we only think that highly overweight people have sleep apnea. Not the case. Joe Rogan, I believe, had sleep apnea.
Yeah. It has your neck structure too, right? And there's some anatomic reasons some people are more prone to it. Again, we can't rely, like we were alluding to the first case, we can't really rely specifically on a lab value of total testosterone because of things like androgen receptor resistance, which, by the way, there's no good test for. She said that you could try Clomid. She doubts anyone down there would be willing to do that. It's usually used for women for fertility, but
prescription based.
Yeah, it raises luteinizing hormone, which actually can help raise testosterone, and it may help for. But you can only be on Clomid for a limited amount of time because it does a lot of unfavorable things to lipids, your lipoprotein profile and stuff like that. So, but it can be used temporarily. So those are the things he can try. But as far as getting a good workup, she recommends going to, she looked around. She's affiliated with the Institute for Functional Medicine, and they have a listserv there. She found someone, no one in the New Orleans area. The closest was Baton Rouge. But go to the Institute for Functional Medicine site and look for doctors in your area. Many of them would probably want you to drive for the first visit, of course, but then you might be able to set up like a telemedicine thing, which Carrie does for many of her patients in the state that don't live locally, after they see her in person at least
so they
once.
could, if let's say there's someone in the Baton Rouge area that is quality, they go see them. There's a very good chance that person will be like, you don't have to drive down here in the next 3 months. We'll do a telemedicine.
Right, as long as they can, see them in person once. But that's what, and she was able to find someone in that area, but it's the Institute of Functional Medicine. You can go on their site and find a provider. Right? Okay. And they usually are trained they will look under the hood, right? They're not going to just blow you off typically.
That's more of the standard in that side of the industry than what these guys are experiencing.
Many of them do not take insurance. That's another concern. Much like Carrie, she takes very limited insurance because insurance is trying to pay her like $30 for an office visit, right? And so it's preposterous.
And I will say, like, so I own my own business. Yeah. So we have to pay for our own insurance and stuff like that. And there's been times where we haven't had insurance and we just had to pay out of pocket. Let's say that first visit's for $500.
Yeah, I don't know how much it is, but
it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
It's 2 hours away. I don't know. How far is Baton Rouge from?
Gosh, man.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
Let's say it's a couple hours.
Yeah.
It will be worth it.
Well, you're investing in your health.
Yes. And especially if the physician is quality. For example, just through this podcast, a bunch of people that live in the state have signed on with Carrie.
Yeah.
And it's cool when we find out. I've gone to gyms and people have said, oh, yeah, I actually have my first visit in 2 months or a month or something like that.
Yeah, she's booking out.
She is booked out pretty good. But I've never heard someone say, it just didn't work out. Or I did it and it just wasn't worth the drive. There's people driving literally a couple hours.
Well, she has people coming from Canada.
Yeah. And it even for us, it is totally like whether we had to pay out of pocket or not, it will be worth it.
Yeah. So, but that's the big thing. The first case, the sleep thing, it sounds like it's better.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like when he got promoted to captain and got moved to a less busy place, that, he's getting more sleep at night, but he still has circadian disruption. Mm-hmm. And there's no people that do shift work, in my opinion, should get paid a lot of money because it is terrible for your health. There's no two ways about it. You can try to make your rooms dark. There's just it's not the same. That's why shift workers have increased all-cause mortality. They have increased risk of diabetes, heart disease, cancer.
You deal.
In occupational medicine, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I know a lot about shift work and circadian disruption because of my specialty, right? Mm-hmm. And it is disastrous to the metabolism, and that includes the endocrine system too. It's such a huge hit to the system. So if it sounds like he's in a little better situation, but all these other things need to really, sounds like he's trying his best. He has second job as a, inspector and training. Mm-hmm. You just have to dial in kids. And
it's a
it's a lot. But that fatigue almost certainly, I would definitely this is our first person, definitely have those levels checked, find a good functional medicine doctor that can look under the hood and see what's going on there, not just this nonsense that we have to deal with that I know it just pisses me off hearing those stories about that dismissive attitude towards it. Well, don't wake up early. It's like, dude, we're trying to reduce the profanity, but you can imagine what I would say to that jerk. But that's
because you've worked with guys like that.
Oh my God. I had a colleague, not at my current employer, but told me, that he doesn't believe in it. I'm like, you don't believe in what? What? Feeling good when you're past reproductive age?
What was his thought process on that?
Because it's not natural. I'm like, nor are antibiotics. Yeah. So we should all get on an iceberg and get pushed out to sea when we're old because we're useless, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't know about you, but I enjoy replacing the testosterone that I lost and still doing things that I like to do and being active instead of this horrible slide into old age.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's this arrogance and ignorance of these doctors that are pissing me off and have for a long time.
What about pine pollen, nettle root extract?
So nettle root specifically is an aromatase inhibitor. So aromatase is the enzyme that converts testosterone to estrogen. Mm-hmm. So, by the way, men do need some level of estrogen, by the way.
Right.
Okay, it's not just and women need a level of testosterone. I mean, it's not we have both. But that's where you would have to look under the hood a little bit and have a good doc like Carrie or a functional medicine doc kind of look at not just your testosterone level. Let's look at pregnenolone, DHEA. Let's look at the whole profile and see what's going on here.
Especially if you're having some mood stuff, right? Then your estrogen could be a little out of whack.
Or no, it could just be low testosterone, man.
Yeah.
It can make you moody as heck. And there's a theory about the stress response. People are under, whether it's sleep deprivation, job stress, home, whatever source of stress, increased cortisol levels can also impact your androgens. And the way it does that is pregnenolone is kind of a precursor to both cortisol and, by the way, testosterone. And if you're throwing a lot of your pregnenolone through the cortisol pathway. It's called the pregnenolone steal theory. In other words, you're stealing the pregnenolone for your stress response rather than your androgen production.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're all sterols. A sterol is just a chemical structure. Basically, it's a ring structure. And they all have the similar backbone. By the way, cholesterol is one of the precursors for all this stuff, right? Cholesterol, sterol. Yeah, it is cholesterol downstream from that is a big, for both vitamin D, a lot of your hormones it's a precursor for a lot of that stuff. So that's another reason why cholesterol is super important. You don't want to just lower the hell out of cholesterol.
Right. Which is, once again, the standard.
I know, dude. I know. It's a real problem anymore. For
people, we were trying to have kids there, and so I was off TRT, but Carrie put us on
Clomid?
Literally this. I don't think I was on Clomid. I was on DHEA, the pine pollen with nettle root, and there was something else in there, wasn't there? Maybe the Tomcat.
No, you weren't taking that DHEA pregnenolone.
I thought there was something else. But it was all these quote-unquote natural kind of remedies. There was no synthetic TRT or anything like that. I was actually getting off of that to try to help with.
Well, those things won't interfere with your fertility pathways, right? Whereas exogenous testosterone will.
Right. And so when I got off, then I test, and obviously my testosterone goes down. And so,
when you got off? Yeah, of course.
Obviously, right? And so the first time I tested for testosterone, my testosterone, it was under 150.
Yeah.
It's really low.
Sounds like what mine was.
27, 28 years old or something like that.
That's terrible, dude.
Yeah. And so when I got off, when we were going to try to have kids, it naturally, obviously, goes back down to around those numbers. And then she put me on this protocol, which she's recommending for especially the fellow with kids. Now, even the other guy could potentially try this. And I got up to about 400 naturally. That quote unquote naturally. Yeah. As in with these methods. So I went up a couple hundred points.
And what was an optimum for you? Because you should be probably for you about 800 or so.
I'm fortunate to the point I've been on this stuff so long, and I am through this podcast and just being friends with you guys and caring more about what I eat and all that kind of stuff. I'm pretty in tune with my body now. So I can tell when I'm sub 300, sub 200, like when I'm really in the dirt. And then when I'm in that 4-ish to 5, like I can, and then when I'm above, I can tell.
Yep.
Like I'm pretty in tune now.
Well, I was going to say me too. And that's one of the reasons why I started doing that. Instead of weekly, I started doing smaller every couple days.
Right.
To keep it more. And because I was noticing even as I was falling off before the next dose, I was like, I'm starting to.
Your weekly dose, you split into 2.
Yeah.
So let's say if it was 10, is it milliliters in a syringe? Or
no, it's 1 cc syringe.
Oh, okay, yeah. So 1 cc. Let's say you take a full 1 cc is your normal week. Now you're doing 5 on Monday, and then another 5 on Thursday.
With me, I would divide it even further. I do 0.8.
Yeah,
would be my weekly, and so I do like 3, 3, and 2. Is typically what, and I'll just kind of
and just keep that cycle.
Going
every couple of days. Bam. Yeah. So, but just to encourage these guys to try these potential remedies is I actually had success with it myself, and just getting me up. The reason she didn't think it was going to get me to 800, but it's more so to not have me in the complete dirt.
Totally.
Give me something.
Well, like our second guy here, because he's still trying to have kids, and it might help a bit, right? It's not probably not going to optimize him, but it's probably going to help.
Yeah, let's say he's in the 300s, and what if he was in the 500s?
It might be better.
Yeah,
but not
maybe not completely optimal, but his sleep gets a little bit better now. Some energy.
I agree. It's a feed forward mechanism because insomnia is one of the symptoms too.
Yeah.
poor sleep
Yes.
with low testosterone. So it almost feeds back into itself, right? And so you get your levels up a little bit. Your sleep gets better. And because your sleep gets better, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And that, and then once you have that kid, you start blasting Tren.
No.
Get that Trenbolone sandwich.
That's a bad idea. See, you're making me actually be the responsible adult, even though you're 40 now. When you say stuff like that, I have to be like, no, Bill, we shouldn't recommend that. No, we don't recommend
Just saying, I know a guy.
No, you do not. You don't know any guys.
You don't know any guys.
You do know a guy for wipes now.
I do.
It's true.
I can hook you up with some wipes.
And
son.
he's exactly what you think he looks like. The dude's selling butt wipes in the parking lot.
Is there a butt wipe?
Crusty old man.
They're not butt wipes, but they're tea tree oil wipes.
That's how you're going to sell it?
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be like, hey, dude, you don't want that staph, man. You don't want that ringworm.
Yeah.
Come on.
Hemorrhoids.
Right in the parking lot, right in the parking lot of the Jiu-Jitsu Academy.
Right.
Come on, man. Look, got $1 for a pack.
You'll take your big bucket out to
My
the next
big
jiu-jitsu
bucket.
tournament.
Totally.
Selling
In
them
Washington
in the parking
because no one could get them.
lot. Heck yeah. You'd be famous, bro.
Probably arrested.
Probably by one of our students.
That'd be terrible, though. Yeah, one of our students would arrest me. Like, damn, man, I'm sorry.
I didn't think it would go down like this, bro.
I know, but I got to uphold the law.
You smell like Bengay. We had another question come in. So hopefully that if you guys have any other questions about what we're talking about here with the TRT,
Yeah.
shoot them in. If you want us to expand on one thing or another.
Yeah, and if I don't know, I'll ask my wife.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's something more that you're like, well, what about this? Just throw us the question. So we had an interesting question also come in. Fascinating. I'm just going to read it because I know you're an expert in this. So
I feel like I'm getting set up. Go ahead.
I'm sure he is.
Go ahead.
quote, I've recently been hearing that people in my local BJJ community have been coming down with pink eye, and it's expected to be viral conjunctivitis.
That's what it
Did I
is.
say that right?
Yep.
Okay,
You did, actually.
That's pink eye.
Yep.
If I remember correctly, this was a problem right before ADCC 2019. It was a problem with some of the athletes and is highly contagious. Is there anything that can be done to help prevent this? If one would come down with it, what can be done, if anything? Master Worlds is fast approaching, and any info to help stay on the mats or come back quicker if he does catch it would be greatly appreciated. On a similar note of general gym hygiene, what are your thoughts on defense soap, hibicillins,
Hibiclins,
yeah,
okay.
etc.? Does one work better than the other, or is there something else you would like to suggest, like selling me your bag of defense wipes?
That last part was actually a really good question about the Hibiclins versus. So we'll get back to that.
Start with the
Yeah,
gingivitis.
conjunctivitis.
Yep,
the
that too.
conjunctive. Excuse me, the conjunctive of the eye. A lot of them are viral. There are some bacterial conjunctivitis too. A lot of people will treat them presumptively with an antibiotic salve. Basically, warm compresses and antibiotic salve just to
Rub it
prevent
on your eye.
get right around your eyelid. The problem is, it is, like you said, it's highly contagious. It's got to run its course. There's nothing. I mean,
If you get it,
if you get it, you need to stay the hell away and off of the mats, basically. So you're not going to ruin someone else's day because they won't let you. I mean, it's obvious when it's bad.
I remember Josh Hinger's eye was fully swollen shut.
That can get bad.
Yeah.
And so that's why we also treat it many times with like a topical azithromycin or erythromycin salve.
Are these all over the counter?
No, no, you need to get seen for that to get a prescription. But adenovirus, many of the viruses can cause it as well too. But sometimes they get a secondary bacterial infection. We just treat it empirically.
Was it adenovirus?
Yeah, adenovirus. There's
What is
other
that?
things. It's just another type of virus, like a cold virus too.
Oh, okay.
Many of those viruses will have different effects. Like, coronavirus isn't necessarily the one we've been dealing. Those have been present since the dawn of mankind.
Right.
They cause colds, right?
So a result of having just one of those viruses can be pink eye.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For sure. You can. And again, you can get the secondary bacterial infection too, which that can look really nasty and be bad. So you got to treat it. The problem is preventing it is just, obviously like stuff like frequent hand washing, things like that are really important. But if you have it, it runs through households like nobody's business because it is so contagious that way. And if you have it, you just need to you definitely want to stay away from rolling.
I would say because he's saying there is something going around in his community. I don't know if that means at his gym or just neighboring gyms or what.
Well, yeah, because they won't stay home. Right.
If you especially right now, because there is something going around in your community.
Yeah.
I would take extra note in literally looking at people's eyes as you're in the gym. And if someone is not where it's all nasty, but just has some inflammation, I wouldn't roll them. Yeah. I wouldn't roll them.
Well, especially if you're worried about missing a competition.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I guarantee he's already spent like $1,500 to plane ticket and hotel and all that.
Exactly.
He's already making some sort of financial commitment. So, I would be extra cautious as looking and seeing. And if I see any sort of irritation in someone's eyes, I just play it safe. Like, I'm not going to roll it out. You just lie to their face. Yeah. You tell them, man, you're just too good.
Well, if these are diagnosed conjunctivitis, I mean, someone should say something. That's where a professor should come out and say, hey, look, we've had a lot of this lately. Yeah. If you guys have any of these symptoms, please do not come in.
Yeah, if your professor doesn't know that it's going around the community, I would tell him and be like, man, maybe we should make an announcement and be like, hey, if you guys feel something or you get diagnosed, don't even come in.
I mean, we talk about the ringworm thing and the MRSA thing
treat
all
it
the
same
time.
way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Treat it the same way.
Yeah, there's not a real good... you just want to make sure you don't get the secondary bacterial infections with it. A lot of times, too, people are rubbing their eyes and creating little bits of trauma there. And it can happen.
Is rubbing your eyes like really bad? I thought I saw there was a video on Instagram of it was like an X-ray of like a live X-ray where they were rubbing their eyes and it was like pushing their eyeballs like super deep into their.
Yeah. I think you're fine.
You can like damage your retina or something.
Yeah, I think it's usually the superficial stuff, especially if you have, I see people, where they get like a piece of metal or something under their eyelid, and obviously you can scratch your cornea and stuff like that.
So it's not crazy to because I feel like when I press on my eyeballs, I start to see like stars or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Is that bad?
Why are you doing that?
Well, you're occluding the blood supply. It's not good.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't do that all the time. If you have a thing about it, I'd just stop doing that.
I do it until I get a headache, usually.
Such a liar.
So let's be clear. You're not rubbing your eyes. You're actually pushing your eyes back in your sockets.
Like 2 fingers.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll use a knuckle.
Don't do that. Haven't you seen enough of those Jean-Claude Van Damme movies when they take thumbs and they push people?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them.
Yeah.
I do action movie Saturday morning.
There you go.
Before jiu-jitsu, I turn on a classic action movie.
It's either the eye gouging or the death touch or something
there's
like that.
There's an old, I forgot what it was. It's before like anime, when it was like old kung fu movie, like Riki or something. I guarantee someone knows it. It's like the most gruesome anime style, like Kill Bill, blood flying everywhere, like old Japanese thing. And like there's this dude, he'll like pluck your eyeball out.
Oh yeah.
Pow.
That's a lot of that basis of Tarantino and Kill Bill with those.
Yeah, there's this one movie or TV series, I think it's Riki or Richie or something like that, that's like, I mean, I remember one, he stabs into the guy's stomach and starts pulling his intestines out.
Nice.
And like he's doing battle ropes, and then he starts going subduing the guy. Wrapping him up in his own intestines.
That's a problem.
It was pretty intense.
What would you call that submission?
It's a form of lasso guard for sure.
You got your own intestines.
Some sort of...
Put a spider hook on one.
Brutal.
That's gross.
That's pretty nasty. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. How about the last part? You said this guy had a good...
the hibiscus. So stay away from not hibiscus. Hibiscus is a tea.
Oh.
stay away from Hibiclens unless you're doing some kind of sterile procedure. In other words, if I'm taking, let's say I'm taking a growth off your arm or something, I'll use something like Hibiclens to actually sterilize the area. The problem with using that stuff regularly is you disrupt your skin flora quite a bit using Hibiclens.
It works too well.
You can actually, because your skin flora actually, just like your gut flora does, your skin flora will actually help outcompete, will actually be protective of some of the pathogenic stuff, right? So if you wipe them all out, it's not as good. Just like taking alcohol and doing the same thing, it disrupts the gut flora, like isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol, right? Unless you're trying to sterilize it to do a procedure, like if I'm, like I said, if I'm cutting into your skin.
When we drain someone's ears or something like that, you
sure,
rub a little bit of that.
Of course, because I don't want to introduce something inside there. But so Hibiclens is not a good idea.
Okay.
For regular use. That's why stuff like Defense is. The tea tree oil is really good against a lot of the
Defense salve.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff is. But even the wipes for regular use is. I'm assuming we're talking about just hygiene stuff.
Yeah.
Not if you have
saying general gym hygiene.
Yeah, I would use the tea tree stuff tends to be a lot more gentle on your skin flora.
Yeah. I know there's Defense soap, armbar soap is another one that I believe is pretty good.
Okay, I've used Defense exclusively. I have since it's come out.
Yeah, we
love
use
it.
armbar as well, and I've had stuff where there's potentially something starting.
It doesn't dry your skin either.
Right.
And that's the big thing too, because you start drying out skin and removing. That's another barrier protection, right? You start forming little micro cracks in it. That's how stuff gets in.
If you do so I have really my face is really sensitive. So some soaps will cause my face to swell.
Totally.
Or get really red and all this. So if you are someone that might have an issue like that, I do be a little careful on if because you just don't know if your skin's going to react to a certain soap.
For sure.
Aggressively.
Yeah.
So I always do it on my temple a little bit if it's a new one.
I've had no problems with the tea tree oil and the eucalyptus oil-based stuff.
So you'd recommend for general hygiene, let's say
for grappling?
Yes, like your Defense salve, not just the soap.
Yeah,
but the salve for abrasions.
Yeah, for abrasions and stuff like that.
A scratch.
Yeah, absolutely.
A map burn.
It's preventative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I even tell the guys at the gym in the day class, I say, get this stuff, and if you see even something that looks like an ingrown hair,
a little pimple or something,
so, we get them I get them in my back of my elbow sometimes.
Totally.
And I just, unless it's actually got a ring around it or something and it hurts, I mean, that's a different story. Then I treat that differently. But for general, if I see anything like that, I just put salve on it.
Yep.
And the blemishes go away really fast.
Super good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this stuff. Yeah,
and I use Defense soap at the same time when I shower after training. So I'm doubling up. And I think you told me this maybe is just as a best practice is I will use the Defense soap and then it's a hot shower. So at that point is when I do the salve. Yeah. So it's your pores are open and all that kind of good stuff. So.
Yeah, it works good. It works good, man. I love this stuff. Yeah, the Hibiclens not so much. Not for normal hygiene use.
Anything else on just for
any of those? Yeah, so stay away from anything that will dry your skin for sure, and anything that has an alcohol base.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not really good because you really do want to maintain some decent skin flora.
If anybody has one that they recommend that's like a Defense soap that we don't know about, I mean. Defense is just so popular, I guess. They got a pretty good handle on the market, but maybe there's some tea tree, other companies that are smaller.
Yep.
I'd love to try them out.
Me too.
Just to know them. So
yeah, I like it.
Liv, you had a question, right?
Yeah. So, Chris.
Not you.
I was just wondering, I've seen a lot about berberine recently.
Nice purses and scarves.
That's Burberry.
Oh.
It's not the same.
Fool me once.
Yeah.
Shame on
so
you.
I was just wondering, I mean, I know that some people take it kind of like a form of, it's similar to like metformin or like how it can react in the body, but I know there's other benefits. I didn't know if you.
Yeah. Let's table it. That's a lot. There's a lot to that.
Okay.
Berberine is actually a really useful compound.
For what typically?
Well, classically, what I was trained with it, especially metabolic issues like diabetes, to help get your blood sugars down. It does a lot of really good stuff, but it also hits some other pathways that it can be useful. So let's spend some time on that, not just off the cuff, because that's a really good one too, because there's some new research on that, that, people are saying it may mimic some of the effects of the GLP-1 agonists.
Oh, like Ozempic.
Yeah. So I'll have to pull up the latest on that. I don't want to speak out of turn here because I want to see what the latest published stuff is on berberine. But in my integrative medicine training, it was a big one for diabetes and even some help with weight loss and things like that.
Have you seen what Atia is saying about Ozempic? So if he's kind of going at it.
Is he talking about he does a DEXA scan on everyone before to make sure their bone density, and he says you lose muscle mass and all that?
A little bit, but he's attributing it to like people just not eating primarily.
Well, of course. Yeah. So when you basically, any of those GLP-1 agonists hits the satiety portions of the brain, it slows gastric transit so you feel full, right? It's basically like putting a gastric band on without putting the gastric band on.
And people just are not actually eating, so they're...
Right. And any kind of caloric restriction, you will lose, you'll lose body fat. You can lose part of muscle mass. I mean, that's what happens. Yeah. I mean, with everything.
That's why it's not a lasting fix. It's a...
Well, but my problem, and what Carrie does, because she prescribes it, she compounds it, because it's a lot cheaper to get semaglutide compounded, a lot cheaper. And everyone has to have she treats it like a whole wellness program. You don't just go in there and get your semaglutide. You got to give her a food log. You got to be on a whole program, and she makes people do resistance training. That's part of it. You have to do that, or you will lose muscle mass.
It probably is the people that they're not doing any sort of resistance training. They're not eating as much, so their nutrition side isn't.
Of course.
So their bone density, muscle mass.
They're eating less of crap.
Yeah.
And she won't prescribe it if they won't commit.
And they're not replacing crap food with quality foods. They're just not eating.
Right. They're just reducing their caloric intake, which you could eat a Twinkie diet and reduce your caloric intake and quote unquote lose weight.
Done it.
Doesn't mean it's healthy.
Right.
Right.
Done it.
Right. So
I eat like a gerbil now.
Yeah, man, all this stuff, I mean, it's a really good tool, especially for people that have a real hard time. But it should be an adjunctive thing to help people get on the right track.
Right.
Because I know
it's not a silver bullet.
No, and it's like especially the worst type of patient in my mind is one that's very passive and wants you to do something to them to quote unquote fix them.
Right.
And that has no skin in the game themselves. Right. So you need, if you're going to, the way she does it is you commit to, we're going to start to turn around your eating habits. We're going to get you exercising. Otherwise, here's what's going to happen if you don't, type of thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there's some validity to that.
Unfortunately, it's just gotten really popular. So there's good marketing behind it.
Everywhere. Ever since we did the podcast, I feel like it's literally everywhere.
Everyone's talking about it. It's pretty fascinating.
Celebrities using it, and suddenly all these celebrities have weight loss.
Well, it works. You know, that's the thing, right? You can't just kind of, but
but people talk about it as anything new. They talk about it new. They talk about it as a silver bullet.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Like here's my hack. Everyone's a biohack.
Or like the doctors that we've talked about previously earlier today, where it's like, here's this. That's all you need.
Yep. And not telling them about, I do agree with Dr. Atia on that. You really should give them that informed. Look, I'm not going to, Carrie just won't do it, right?
Right,
She's like,
right.
no, I'm not going to prescribe it unless you come in here and tell me you're serious about, because just like someone that gets the gastric banding or gets bypass surgery,
Right.
oh yeah, they lose a bunch of weight, and guess what? You see them 10 years later, 5 years later, they haven't changed their
Right.
habits. Guess what?
They're right back there.
They sure are.
Yeah.
And now they have a compromised gastrointestinal system.
Right. Right.
I think that's why that doctor,
No, Zardian or whatever.
he always on like
600-pound life.
he'll always make them do a month or two of like changing their eating and losing X amount of weight on
Yeah.
their own before he'll give them.
Totally.
He'll
because
make
he
them
wants
lose
them
like
to
100
show
pounds.
That they're committed
Yeah.
and that they're not just going to depend on the
Absolutely.
surgery.
He knows if they just eat like
They're gonna wind up
2,500
back there.
2,500 calories a day, like because they're so big, they're 600, 700,
Yeah.
800 pounds. He's like, you'll lose 100 pounds like that.
Yep.
Just by eating the recommended
Oh my gosh.
diet of
Yeah.
America. And
Mm-hmm.
and that shows like the lifestyle change first, and before they get the gastric stuff.
That's what scares me about any of those gastric procedures, especially the ones that are bypass, where they're.
You could literally die if you go right back to what you were doing, right?
Well, the problem is you're compromising your digestive system in a way. Yeah, you're going to lose weight, but you're always you could have some malabsorption problems. Absorbing nutrients in general. It's a radical thing to do, and when there's something like the GLP-1 agonist, to me that's a lot less permanent.
yeah.
At least use that in conjunction, but again with all the right lifestyle things, they have to be in place.
Yeah. I mean, you made it out of the gastric surgery pretty well.
I've been fortunate to really work at it, of not having any of that kind of have to do anything like that. I've naturally, if I take care of my eating and exercise, I've always been fairly lean.
Yeah.
But some people have a rough time with it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a 600-pounder in my brain.
In your brain. I see you look at the way you look at donuts, man.
It's borderline illegal.
Yeah.
When you put an ice cream sandwich in front of my face, if there was a child
Now
in
I got to
between
tease
us,
this since today's your birthday. Are you bringing in donuts?
I'm going to take my beating.
You're going to take your Shark Tank? Mm-hmm. I like it.
At our gym, if it's your birthday, you get Shark Tanked in front of the whole class.
Or you can buy your way out of it by bringing in
The
donuts.
whole class of donuts.
Yeah.
And we have like 50-person classes. It's a lot of donuts.
Good luck.
Yeah, you got to pull a mortgage for that damn thing. But no, I'm just going to take my beating because I always am a part of the Shark Tank.
I
So I
know.
feel like it's only fitting if I take my butt whooping.
Good.
So I'm ready.
Oh, I like it. So we'll hit the berberine next.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And then, like I said, if you guys got any questions or anything like that, just comment on YouTube. Give us a good rating on like Spotify or something like that.
Yeah.
Holla back on that sort of thing.
I like
Help
it.
the algo. That's it, y'all.
Later.